Hello folks, it's David with Ural Motorcycles, back with you once again after hours in the back of the warehouse at Ural HQ so we can have a little peace and quiet. And this week's topic, honestly, I've been putting it off for a few weeks. I've been a little reluctant to cover it, but I think it's about time I did, but I'm going to cover it with a couple of caveats. So this was requested by William Brown on YouTube, and he said, can you cover how to check your alignment on your sidecar? Well, yes, I can, William. But here's the caveat. As a representative of the OEM and speaking on behalf of Ural Motorcycles and myself, I want to make sure that if you do embark on changing or fine-tuning your chassis on your Ural motorcycle, that you seek out the help of a dealer or service center. Our dealers and service centers are very good at fine-tuning a chassis to suit your particular roads in your geographical area, or to suit the rider weight or your average payload that you carry. Quite frankly, you're not going to be able to dial in your chassis to be 100% perfect all the time. And I don't care if it's a Ural motorcycle or a Softail Harley with a California sidecar, or a Goldwing with a Hannigan sidecar, or a BMW with a DMC sidecar. Unless you're going to spend 2 to 3 times what a whole Ural outfit costs, you're not going to be able to achieve that kind of perfection or have the ability to tune on the fly for the particular needs for the situation you're in. So your goal is to get as near perfect as you can for the riding you do the majority of the time. Okay, so we're looking at a percentage. If you ride the same roads to and from work all the time, or the same back roads all the time, you can align your chassis to suit that need, but it's not going to be great if you go off-road, and vice versa. But one thing I'd like to also talk about is, seems to be a misconception among our Ural family as to what Ural Motorcycles is as a manufacturer. Yes, we sell globally, but as far as the motorcycle industry, we're a rather small competitor. Our chassis, our sidecars, our gas tanks, everything that's still manufactured at the factory is still made by people. It's not robots on an assembly line. So your chassis, even though there's a jig to align the frame rails and the steering neck, that is still welded by hand by a person. It's the same as the sidecar body. All the sheet metal is laser cut and the panels are perfect, but when they actually go together to be spot welded, that is a person doing that. Yes, there is a jig for that too, but there's going to be manufacturing variances. And this is also one of the things that makes Ural unique. You're basically getting a hand-built bike. This is not something that's assembled 100,000 at a time per year. So your chassis compared to your buddy's chassis or any of the other 3 chassis that are sitting at the dealership that you've been admiring, the alignment on your bike is going to be unique to you. And that is not only by the motorcycle's design, but also because of your personal preference. And as I said before, your weight, the payload that you carry most of the time, whether or not you take your significant other with you or your dog, all these are going to be variables. So just keep that in mind as we move forward, okay? So if you're scouring the internet and you're going through the forums or any other myriad of places to get information about aligning a chassis, you're going to see all kinds of terms and all kinds of rules to follow. Like sag affects lean out and lean out affects toe in. All these things are true, but you're talking about fine-tuning a chassis. What we're focusing on here is just checking the alignment. So the 2 terms we're going to refer to are toe in and lean out. These are the ones that affect the majority of the symptoms that you may experience while you're going down the road. So here I will show toe in the most rudimentary way possible, basically paper cutouts. So this is top view of the motorcycle, top view of the sidecar. This is the front tire, this is the nose of the sidecar. So toe in is the relationship between the sidecar wheel and tire to that of the motorcycle's front and rear tire, which are in line with each other. When you adjust the toe in, you're towing in the tire towards the motorcycle, so this will all track straight. Now without toe in, if this was straight, the sidecar is always trying to pull away from the motorcycle, and thereby you're having to steer this way to try and pull it back to center. Next is our lean out. Now the lean out, what you're seeing here with my crudely drawn stick figure motorcycles is your view is from the back of the bike. This is a level road with a horizontal chassis, a vertical sidecar wheel, the motorcycle in the back of the sidecar. You can see the motorcycle is leaned out away from the sidecar body. Now, when you're on a crowned road or highway, the motorcycle will be standing up straight with the chassis level, and the toe in conjunction with the lean out, is driving the unit forward in as straight as possible. What you're effectively doing is dialing in or tuning in a constant left-hand turn. So with no lean out, the motorcycle is always trying to pull towards the sidecar. Now, how much lean out depends on, again, your location, how much crown is built into the road, and how much payload is in the sidecar, and how much the rider weight is. So to do a basic alignment check like we're doing here today, you're going to need an angle finder with a magnetic base, so you can stick this on the back rotor, and then you'll also need alignment beams. Now, if you look at these are rectangular extruded aluminum. Now we sell these, they're available through your dealer. I will link the part number and the price below. If you're going to take on checking your alignment yourself, you're going to find online there's many methods where people are using 8-foot fluorescent light tubes or 2x4s or angle iron from an old bed frame. I can't stress this enough. The variation of those items to check the alignment, you could be off between the distance from the front to the back measurement. You could be off a quarter inch or more, and this will greatly affect the way your bike handles. So you want the proper tool for this job. Now, if you can't justify the cost of the alignment beams, consider going in with a few friends who have sidecars and splitting the cost between you. Either that or go to your dealer or service center, and they will definitely have the proper alignment beams for in-house use to align your chassis for you. The most common symptoms that can be affected by changing the toe in or the lean out are if you're constantly pulling on the handlebars towards the left and pushing on the right because the bike feels like it wants to pull towards the sidecar. This would be an indicator that you need to do either or, toe in or more lean out. If it feels like it's hard turning into a left-hand turn, like it's dragging and you have to push it into a left-hand turn, that would be an indicator of increasing the toe in and or the lean out. The opposite effect, where you feel like you're always pushing on the handlebars and pulling with this hand, would be an indicator that you would need to decrease the toe in and or decrease the lean out so the bike stands more upright. If you have a situation where the bike feels like it's hard to turn towards the direction of the chair, this would also be an indicator that you need to decrease the toe in and or decrease the lean out. So the first thing you're going to want to do is fill all your tires to the recommended specifications in your owner's manual for the pusher, the front, and the sidecar. Unless you've determined for yourself that you like a different pressure than what is indicated in the manual, fill it to that level then. Next, you're going to install the first alignment bar onto the spokes with the J-hooks on the rear and the front wheel. This will help keep the two wheels straight to each other and help you when you measure your lean out to make sure that the bar isn't turned, which can give you a false reading. Next, we'll install the sidecar alignment bar, again through the spokes. And then you're going to measure the height . So they're very close to the same height from the ground. And then you can use a box or wood, blocks of wood, to space up the end of this bar so it doesn't sag while you're taking your measurement. Now you can take your angle finder and attach it to the rear rotor. Make sure it's as level as possible so you can get an accurate reading. Now I like to go off the rear tire, off the pusher tire, off the rotor, because regardless of what the suspension or the swing arm or the frame or anything else is doing, I know that this, which is in contact with the ground, is going to give me the most accurate reading for what my lean out is. So for the rear measurement, I'm going to take my tape measure and go through the spokes and hook it at a point on the alignment beam that I can draw this back pretty straight to the back of the tire here. So our measurement is 53 3/8. So for the front, what I'm going to do is try and get under the rotor and as close to right below the axle as possible. I'm going to draw this across, and this says I have 53 inches. 53 minus 53 3/8, actually the specification on a two-wheel drive is 3/16 to 9/16, so roughly 3/8 of an inch. So I'm actually right at 3/8 of an inch, which is approximately halfway between the specification. So in metric, that would be 5 to 15 millimeters, so midway would be right around 10 millimeters. So the measurements I've taken at the back and the rear indicate that I am right in the middle of the specification at 3/8 of an inch toe end on the sidecar in relation to the bike. So if you were going to be making adjustments to the toe end, increasing, I would probably go in increments of 1/8 of an inch, which is about 3 millimeters. So 1/8 of an inch, lock it down, and then you would also want to check your toe in, because every adjustment you make to, or your lean out rather, any adjustment you make to your toe in, it's going to affect your lean out, and vice versa. Anything you do to your lean out, it could affect your toe in. So even though lean out affects toe in, the opposite is also true. Once you think you got one locked down and you make an adjustment to the other one, always go back and check the other to make sure you haven't knocked it out of place. Now the angle finder at the back of the bike was reading at 1 degree of lean out. Now I know for me, my personal choice, at 168 pounds, that's ideal for me, right about 1 degree or maybe slightly less. I typically commute to work with a backpack, a full tank of fuel in the jerry can, and a jack and a few other accessories, probably about 60 pounds of stuff in my sidecar and in the trunk. And then my body weight, 1 degree lean out is about ideal for me. What it is for you may be a little bit different. So had I needed to adjust the lean out or toe in on this bike, the process I would have followed was, first I would have disconnected the wiring harness here at the front strut, and then before I loosened anything, I would take a 25mm wrench or a good crescent wrench and break these jam nuts loose on the front and rear struts, because once you take them loose from the frame, it's really hard to get those broke loose if they haven't been moved in a while. Then you would take a 19mm socket and wrench and remove the nuts from these bolts on the front and back. Once you remove the bolts, then you could lift the struts away and adjust them up or down depending on whether you were leaning out or leaning in. Now, if I was to lean this bike out more, obviously I would be lengthening these struts, and I would turn them each the same amount. So if I was going half a turn, half a turn, half a turn, I would duplicate that on the front and the rear. And when I went to put them back on their mounting positions, on the mounting lugs, I would, once I got them lined up, if the bolt goes in the back fine and it doesn't want to go in the front, you've got something in tension. You should be able to slide the bolts through on both holes. If you can't, something is not adjusted right, and you need to either increase or decrease one of these so it will just slip right through. Now, if I was doing a toe-in adjustment as well, before I put the sidecar struts back onto their mounting locations on the chassis, on the motorcycle chassis, I would loosen these 2 bolts here and the 2 on the back. Then you'd be able to maneuver the sidecar and the motorcycle together, tighten it down to where it wouldn't slip, retake your measurements, and when you get the toe in correct to the number that you're seeking, then you can adjust the strut length to fit on the chassis. Check your lean out number again and continue back and forth until you lock it down. So there you have the basic information on how to check the toe in and the lean out of your sidecar outfit. Two of the biggest changes you can make to affect the handling and offset symptoms that you may be experiencing while riding. Now, this is a change that can affect the handling very drastically, and if you're unfamiliar with what these changes will do initially, it could be a potentially hazardous situation, and we want to avoid that at all costs. I do want to encourage you to talk to your dealer or service center if you plan on making these changes. This is a job that they do charge for because it's pretty labor intensive. But if you do decide to take it on, like I said, please, by all means, buy the proper tools, buy the proper alignment beams. As always, I appreciate you folks watching these videos. If you're watching this on YouTube, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. If you see it on Facebook, give us a like. Comments and questions can be left below, or you can contact us at ural@info.com. Until next time, again, I appreciate you watching, and we'll talk to you later.